Judging by the chat early on here, I get the impression that this is probably not going to be the show, from myself at least, that I think a lot of people are anticipating based on the comments that are being made in the chat right now about this game and expectations from myself and what I would say and how I would feel about this game. Look, the reality of this game is this. This is a dog shit game from the Toronto Maple Leafs. From start to finish, this is a pretty brutal game. There were some decent moments. I actually thought in the midst of all this, Auston Matthews had a pretty good game himself. Like, Easton Cowan did some good things. I don't know. Outside of that, just this game as a whole, it's a dog shit game. It's a dog shit game from the Maple Leafs, from Hildeby to the power play, to the 5-on-5 play. Everybody involved in this one struggled. And, I see people here right now pointing out Morgan Rielly and the night that he had again. And that's obviously a piece of the puzzle here in this game tonight. But I can't reasonably say, as a fan of this team, that this was not expected and that in some ways this is acceptable. I don't know. Like, I see right now in the chat, XPWR Soldier says, participation ribbon, coddle him. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to coddle him. But where I will give an out or some level of understanding, and again, you don't want it to be a 6-1 loss to the Utah Mammoth. You don't want it to get as far as it did and for it to be that bad, and you still want to be competitive in a game like this. But where I'm just going to give them some type of out, some type of, excuse, I guess. I didn't want to use that word, but excuse is a way to look at it in this one, is they looked exhausted. That looked like a team that just played the best team in the NHL last night in Colorado. They gave it everything that they had to win that one in overtime. They're dealing with travel here on the West Coast, played in altitude last night, showed up in Utah late today, and you go up against the Utah Mammoth team that is a pretty good team, and this team just looked exhausted. I don't think that this is a lack of effort from the Maple Leafs tonight. I think that this was a lack of execution. I think that this was a lack of energy from these guys, just in terms of not having it. Not necessarily that they weren't willing to use it or dig deep to find it, but look, man, I don't know. Like, I know a lot of people in the chat right now are going to get on me for saying this and getting pissed off that I'm giving them some type of out, but this is a scheduled loss. I know that I've made a big deal here throughout this season and especially the last month about how important every single point is that you need to pick up on the season. There are times where a game is going to be a scheduled loss. A back-to-back against Colorado and then Utah, where you've come in to Colorado, you win in overtime and go balls to the wall, everybody involved in that one to get those 2 points. And then you travel to Utah the next day, get in on game day, and have to play against the Utah Mammoth. Again, like, just let's put this thing into context as well. And everybody's dealing with this. It's not just the Maple Leafs, but like, I think we need to take one step back here in this moment. And maybe I'm just empathizing with them a little bit more than usual because I'm experiencing the fatigue coming off of yesterday as well, which I'm certain a lot of people in the chat are, where you stay up and the game finishes at 1 a.m. The Maple Leafs got into Colorado the day before. They didn't have 2-3 days to get into Colorado, acclimate to the time change, acclimate to the altitude, and then play that game, and then manage to build off of that into Utah in the next night and be like, oh, well, we've had one under us. We dealt with that. Like, the body clocks of those players is dealing with going from an Eastern time zone schedule and travel schedule and a relatively easy travel schedule to going out to Colorado and playing that one, adjusting to the altitude, adjusting to a later game, a later start, and then having to manage going through that exhausting game in which they showed up, they battled their absolute dicks off, and they won and got 2 points. This is a tight schedule this season because of the Olympic break, where you're losing so many off days that you would normally have because you're taking about a 3-week chunk of your normal NHL schedule and just removing it. And you go into this game where you barely sleep, as it's pointed out in the chat. You get into the next game against Utah, arriving the day of. You get in later in the afternoon. You play the Mammoth, and it's like they looked exhausted mentally, physically, emotionally, everything. Bottled Air says, I didn't expect us to win, but like saying this wasn't important is stupid. I'm not saying that. This was a dog shit game. This got way farther out of hand than you would want it to. I saw a lot of people pointing out Morgan Rielly's night. That's fair. I think Dennis Hildeby also had a stinker, but like everybody involved in this game stunk. What do you want me to say about this game when you just rattled off a 10-game heater? You got yourself back here. You were due for a letdown game at some point in this schedule. You were due for some game where it was going to kind of just unravel to a degree. I wish it wasn't this much. I wish it didn't hit them this hard, and I wish it didn't get to a point where it was a 6-1 loss against Utah. That's where it becomes embarrassing. So I'm not going to disagree with anybody in the chat on this, but it was just accumulation of all these things going wrong for the Maple Leafs tonight that results in this loss. And personally, I look at it this way. It fucking sucks. I'm not happy about it, but as long as they bounce back on Thursday night against Vegas and they get back to that style of play and that tempo and pace that they had against Colorado, even over the last couple of weeks, I think that's fine. Again, I mean, I see Meg here in the chat saying you're giving them excuses. You got to say, hey, if you have a 10-game heater when Rielly had a dog shit game a week and a half ago, wake up, dude. Mig, you wake the fuck up. I mean, what are you watching right now to say that this game is solely on Morgan Rielly? This was everybody involved in this one. Special teams were not firing. There were some poor penalties. There were some breakdowns defensively. They struggled to get the puck up ice in transition. And again, I just look at this thing. I look at the way that they played here tonight. This was not a systematic issue. This was not a effort issue or a trying issue in this one. So Jari F1B says, you're going soft. Stop making excuses. I'm going to give them the out on this one here tonight. If you don't like it, that's your prerogative. You don't have to like it. You can call into the show here. I'll open up the link. We're not going to go forever on this one tonight. I disagree. I'm just not willing to do that. And for those who know me and know the show and have been here before, you know that I'm more than willing to go in on this team in a loss when things go poorly. I just don't give a fuck tonight. Like, what does this matter? I mean, you are on the second night of a back-to-back. People want to take the human element out of these things and say, they make $1 million and they're professional athletes. Yes, they are, and I wish they didn't lose 6-1, but again, I think that this game is one of those ones where you knew you were going to have a letdown spot at some point. They pushed off that letdown game for as long as they could. You know, we talked about the Florida game and that one being emotional and physical and exhausting. And then would the Philly game be one that they couldn't get through? And they showed up for the Philly game. Okay, you got through that one. Can you get through this one on Saturday against Vancouver where they come into your barn and you've just rattled off a bunch of wins and you found a way back into the Philly game? game. You got through that one. You won 5-0. Okay, now you travel to Colorado. Is this the one here? No, it's not. You win in OT. You get 2 points. I would rather this be the game that was the stinker where you showed up last night, you got the 2 points against the Avs. Now you have 2 days to kind of recoup and get yourself ready for the game on Thursday night against the Vegas Golden Knights, because that's the one I'm looking to. I know that teams in the Atlantic and in the Eastern Conference here right now are still rattling off points every single night. I got no issue with that, but I'm looking at this for the Maple Leafs and saying, hey, I think that this is it's a scheduled loss. I just wish it wasn't 6-1. I think that's fair. All right, I'm going to open this up because there are people who adamantly disagree with me, so I want to hear from people tonight. If you want to give your thoughts and not just sit in the chat and say, everyone has back-to-backs, call into the show. I want to hear from people. Spike pointing it out. Alberga pointed it out earlier on, and this is kind of the point that I've been trying to get across here, where it's like, you're not going to win 82. I know everyone has back-to-backs, but saying over and over again, everyone has back-to-backs, everyone has back-to-backs, that's fucking awesome, man. Great, astute observation, saying everyone has back-to-backs. Holy fuck, Albert Einstein. Way to figure that one out. Like, just a real genius of the modern day hockey schedule to figure out everyone has back-to-backs. It's well known on the second night of a back-to-back, it's a tough situation for teams to come out and show up in these. Exhausted team. I don't think they abandoned the system. I think they were exhausted. I think they struggled to play the way that they needed to. And I mean, again, look at some of the stuff that Utah created chances off of. It's not necessarily like systematic breakdowns or a poor system that results in Mammoth goals. It's like overskating a puck, missing a pass by a foot, too far in front, too far behind, half a step behind on a play, half a step behind on a back check, half a step behind into a forecheck. You know, over and over again, I just looked at these guys and was like, they are just slightly off all night. You got 2 of 4 points, 2 of which came against the Colorado Avalanche. I think that that's a success here in those 2 games. We do have a caller on the line, so let's get to this right away here. Let's get to Jamie Richardson. Jamie, welcome to Leafs Nation After Dark. Are you in agreement with me here, or are you in the camp of this needed to be a win? Utah's fucking pathetic, like a lot of the chat here is saying right now. Jamie, where are you at after this one?
I am in agreement with it. I see this before. A lot of times what will happen, like, okay, last night was a high, right? They did good. They worked hard. They, travel and all that. I think they could have possibly looked past this game, because the next one is against Vegas, and each one of them knows that. They all know it. They're all knowing it, and they kind of could have looked past it a little bit, this one.
Yeah, I would say, Jamie, I don't think they necessarily looked past this game. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just looking too much into this one. Maybe I'm giving them too much credit, but I don't think what I saw tonight was a group that was looking past this game. I personally, Jamie, don't think that what I saw out of this team tonight was the same situation that we've seen out of them before, where they've got blown out or embarrassed or whatever. And again, to the same point, like to what people are saying in the chat, I also wish they didn't lose 6-1, Jamie. I also wish that. But, I mean, this was a game to me that it just looked like they had no legs. They had no energy. It wasn't a quit job. It wasn't a lack of effort or a lack of trying. They couldn't string passes together. It just looked like there were times where they were just like got behind on a play, and rather than giving up, like They were head down, hunched over, battling, and just couldn't get there. All night long, it felt like that. And how many times did it go from a missed pass on a breakout or a missed pass in the neutral zone in a regroup or just overskating a puck or not quite getting to one that results in a Utah chance with a rush opportunity the other way and capitalizing on those? Like, this happened numerous times tonight, even to the point, I look at a couple of the goals. I'll just point out the Gunther one that he beats Hildeby over the pad, under the glove, when he's coming down, when he's in the slot, I should say, sorry. It's Rielly who gets picked off on the wall, just kind of gets out muscled on that one. Going back the other way, Brandon Carlo blows a tire, and then Morgan Rielly and Brandon Carlo run into each other. That's not a systematic error. Like, those are mental errors that I think come with being tired. The one that he scores where he rips it short side high over Hildeby's shoulder. Again, that's a second one that I've just said here of two specific Utah goals that I think Hildeby could have and probably should have had. But on that one as well, it's Scott Laughton going to make a play on the puck in the offensive zone just inside the blue line. He's a half step too late to get to the puck. He gets hit in the face with the stick on the follow through, which is not a penalty, but he's reeling from that. He's dealing with that. He's slow back on the back check, and then Gunther down the other way. Stetcher's just kind of keeping a gap on him, and he rips a beautiful shot. But again, like, you're a half step getting there on the forecheck. It gets out into the neutral zone. It goes down the other way, and Gunther rips it short side high. Like, I think for me, there's so much fatigue in this game that I'm willing to let them off the hook for a loss. 6-1 is embarrassing. I got no problem with that, but I have no problem with people saying that. I just think there's so much more fatigue in this game than it is like, oh, this is a shitty team, or they didn't try, or they didn't show up tonight. I've got to push back on that. I adamantly disagree with people who are saying that on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think they ought to have, they shouldn't have a hard time getting up on the next one.
You better, you fucking hope not.
I've never been an athlete, but I mean, I think, if you're going up against the next teammate and all the talk about it, I think, let's get this,
Yeah,
it'll be a good game, though.
I'm with you. Also, I'll just point out to anybody else in the chat, Jamie, just if anybody else wants to call in, like what Jamie's doing right now, hit that link that is pinned at the top of the chat. You want to give your opinion on tonight's game, on the past two games that have happened, on the body of work that we've just seen from these guys coming from Utah and Colorado. Hit that link, get in here, and call in to the postgame show. What else do you think about this one tonight, Jamie? Like, there's a lot of comments right now about Morgan Rielly. There's a lot of comments about Max Domi. Where are you at after this game? Is anything else standing out to you?
No, I mean, I think, being tired and all that, I think, they're all their worst parts of each of their game is going to come out. And I think it just happened. I think it's how we bounce back is the part. That's just see how this room can bounce back. I think that's a big thing.
Yeah. I'm with you. That's like, this is the thing for me right now. There's a comment in the chat. This comes in from Jari F1B. So you're saying when things get tough and the schedule is rough, it's excusable to be horrible. Makes sense with their playoff history. That's not what I'm saying where it's excusable to be horrible. A 6-1 loss is embarrassing. I'm still with people on that. I'm still with you on the fact that the way that this game went, it got out of hand and it was embarrassing and it was tough. But I think as this game progressed, you could just see fatigue kicking in. I just personally can't understand watching that game and saying, well, they needed to show up tonight. Like, I'm doing this post-game show. I watched that game. All I did last night was watch the game. All I did was do the post-game show, and here I am today, exhausted. I didn't play, but now we're forced to be dealing with that schedule, that time zone, much like the Maple Leafs are. They're just going and actually physically having to deal with it, and I'm sitting here fucking exhausted. So I like, look, I can at least give them that out, because personally, sitting here right now after it, that's like, I can understand how that thing, why it was so tough for them tonight against Utah, who, by the way, is a good team. A lot of people who are saying that, like Mobius Strip earlier on in the chat said, oh, I could accept if they lost to Colorado 6-1, not Utah 6-1. Utah's a good team. Karel Vejmelka, good goaltender. The goal scorer, or the big goal scorer here tonight, Dylan Guenther, he looked really good, and he's a really good player. I don't know, man. Like, it's a back-to-back with travel, going from altitude. You just played a physically and emotionally exhausting game, and you came off an absolute heater there of your last 10 games going 8-0-2. It's a bullshit game. It sucks. Yeah. I just take this one and I throw it out, Jamie.
And they didn't even do good on the faceoffs, I don't think. So
yeah. Let me look.
Or it didn't seem like it to me.
Yeah, it did feel like they just were playing without possession a lot tonight. But again, like, this wasn't wow. Their playing style stinks type of night. They did lose in the faceoffs as well, 57% to Utah. If that doesn't scream like fatigue, I don't know what does, because Utah is not world beaters in the faceoff dot. They're good, they're respectable, no problem there. But again, like, I don't know. I'm willing to give them the excuse of exhaustion here in this game tonight.
Yeah. Well,
anything else from you? Jamie,
we'll
here?
see what happens next game, and if, the mark of a good team is bouncing back.
Yeah.
Stuff like this.
So that's exactly the point. If they do this again on Thursday, yeah, the show will be a whole lot different. I will be a lot more frustrated on Thursday if they go back-to-back games playing this style of hockey, playing this brand of hockey, and looking like this. But if it's just tonight and they bounce back on Thursday, I got no issue. Like, we scrap it, we move on, we throw this game out, we pretend it never happened. You just abandon it. You say fuck it, you burn the tape, so you don't even look at it again. Like, I don't think that this is a matter of the way the team is constructed, the way the team is coached. I don't think that this is a character issue in the room. Some nights you just don't have it. That was this night for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Is what it is. Move on.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's all I can think of.
All right, Jamie.
Get the bounce back. All right.
Thank you for the call tonight. I appreciate it. Let's bounce back on Thursday, yeah?
Yep.
All right. There you go. Jamie Richardson. Appreciate Jamie for the call there. Shout out to Jamie. To anybody else in the chat who wants to call in, the link is pinned in there. I also sent that again, so you guys can also call in if you want to give your thoughts on tonight's game. Tonight will probably be a shorter one. I don't know. Like, I'm sorry if I'm letting people down on this one, but just genuinely, I don't have that much to say in this game outside of I can genuinely understand from this group how fatigue set in and got the best of them tonight. 6-1 is a lot. 6-1 is an embarrassing one. But your goaltender didn't help tonight. I don't think Hildeby had a great night. Your power play was struggling. You struggled with execution. And it wasn't like execution where it was, oh yeah, these guys can't figure it out in terms of like systematically or coming off the bench and changes and all those kinds of things. It was like They just couldn't string passes together. They could not string passes together. They couldn't break out cleanly. The amount of chances that we saw created by Utah here tonight that just look like exhaustion, it's tough. Luke saying, Zach, can I ask your Rielly game rating? Yeah, it's bad. It's an F. Morgan Rielly was struggling tonight. That's the thing I will give some credit to people, like pointing out Domi or Morgan Rielly. Domi, I'm going to say a little less so. I thought he was actually not that bad, but Morgan Rielly, I will throw in there is like when the going gets tough for this team and things look poorly, Morgan Rielly does not seem to be a guy who can dig you out of it or be like a bright spot in a game. It seems like if the game is going sideways, his is pulling you there. His is leading the charge. But, you want to go positives in this one. Auston Matthews, I thought looked really good. I thought he created chances. I thought he had a few good opportunities. I thought his legs were pumping. I thought that, it's not like this is the best game from Matthews, but to keep building off of what he's done over the last little while, like he's not going to single-handedly close the gap on a 6-1 game. You could see the fatigue in him as well, but even seeing the fatigue in Matthews and then realizing on the flip side of it, here's a guy who's exhausted. Here's a guy who can't or who's dealing with the factors of the altitude, of the travel, of the time change, all of it here on the second night of a back-to-back after an exhausting one last night that he again played fucking awesome in that one. Like, I just look at this and I'm like, he looked good, which to me is a positive sign, because if Auston Matthews running on fumes in a state of exhaustion can look like that and can still be dangerous and can still create chances, that's a good sign for me for Auston Matthews. All right. I mean, look, I said I'm not going to stay late on this one here tonight. And it seems like stream numbers are low. People are also look at this. Like, people are dealing with the exhaustion and watching this team and having that happen. If this is a 7 p.m. game for the Maple Leafs and they lose 6-1, the amount of people who are going to come into the postgame and lose their shit and call in, I mean, everyone else is dealing with exhaustion, but these guys aren't allowed to. Bradley Vision, 3 months of dog shit hockey. Exhaustion isn't an excuse when they were asked the whole season, minus the past 3 weeks. Okay, man. Sure. What am I going to say against that? That's how you feel. I strongly disagree. Again, 6-1, embarrassing, but I don't know, man. If this was Jackie M says, if this was a 7 p.m. game, you'd be losing your shit too, Zach. Be honest. I mean, if it's a 7 p.m. game, the factors of travel, altitude, and time change are eliminated. Like, that's the issue. That's the difference for me, is more so what I'm saying. I'm more in line with Doug in the machine. In my opinion, if you can't give them some leniency after getting points in 10 straight, I don't know why you were a fan. I'll leave out the last part, personally. I still get why people are fans. It's just like, after watching the hockey that they have played, and I don't think that this is a game here tonight where this is a matter of like they didn't give it everything. They didn't show up. They didn't try. It was a struggle early. It took them a bit to get into this one. But they showed up and they got some effort going and started pushing pace in this, and they just didn't have the gas and they didn't have the legs to do it. All right, let's get to our best bet segment then. Our best bet is a presentation of Bet365. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Use promo code NATION. That's NATION. Code NATION. NATION. Must be 19 or older. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, visit connectsontario.ca. Francesco Pinto, 7358. You might want to start watching other teams there, brother. He says, lose to Utah and you want to make playoffs? ? Laughing face. Yes. Let's go over this quickly here before I get to the best bet. First of all, anybody in the NHL can beat anyone on any given night. So that's a fucking absurd statement to make. Second of all, Utah is actually a pretty good team on the other side of things. They've got good pieces. Third of all, it's the second night of a back-to-back coming off of the most physically and emotionally exhausting game of the entire season for the Maple Leafs. Ridiculous statement by Francesco Pinto saying you lose to Utah and you think you're going to make the playoffs. Absurd. All right, best bets tonight did lose in this one. I mean, again, just follows this pattern. The Leafs play well, the Leafs win games, and we find ways to win our best bets here on the channel. This one here tonight didn't go so well for the Leafs, and it didn't go so well for us either. We actually end up losing 2 bets on the night. We lose Matias Maccelli anytime goal, plus 450. That was a quarter of a unit on that one. $25 would have profited us 112.5. We lose $25 on that. We also had an Auston Matthews anytime goal for $50. Matthews actually did play pretty well in this game tonight. I thought he was one of the standouts for the Maple Leafs in what was actually a pretty tough game. He finishes the night with 1 shot on goal. I think he ended up hitting 2 posts. He did have some dangerous shifts out there as well, but like everybody for Toronto struggled tonight. Everybody struggled tonight. And even in that, I thought Auston Matthews had a pretty decent game. There's Dyslexic again in the chat, just shooting his mouth off, just cherry picking what he deems absurd. Hey, Dyslexic, I'm not sure if you're aware, but this is my show where I give my opinions on things. So I'm not sure if you're just dumb or choosing to be an asshole or both maybe. But yes, this is an opinion show where I host the show and give my opinions. So yes, when I give my opinion on what I think is absurd, that's usually how it works on my fucking show. You dense motherfucker. Because yes, on my opinion show, I give my opinion and tell you what I think is absurd. It's not necessarily the North Star of what's right and wrong. It's my opinion on the opinion show hosted by me. So familiarize yourself with the concept of an opinion show, Dyslexic. That's how it works. I give my opinion. If you want to give your opinion, call into the show rather than complaining that I'm giving my opinion. For fuck's sakes. All right, let's get into this next caller here. Let's get into this one. Flavio on the line. Am I saying that correctly?
You actually are, and I'm kind of shocked.
Well, I'm going to go with just the first name because the last name came in on Zoom. I'm not trying to disrespect you, but I just figured maybe it's easiest for us all.
You could just
Okay.
say C at that point.
Okay.
When I watched this game, I didn't feel like I did watching different games throughout this season. I watched this game and I saw in the first period after the Carcone goal, it was kind of back and forth. You had Tavares get his breakaway in the second. There were chances, and the biggest thing was it
Yes.
was fatigue. And the biggest thing with fatigue that I see, no matter who it is you get sloppy and you try doing too much. And I think that's what truly cost them.
I look, man. This is unfortunately. I mean, this is good and bad for me for you to call in and say this because I 100% agree with you. But unfortunately, as maybe Steve Staios from the Ottawa Senators would write in a press release, the trolls and the sick people in the chat who think I only have people on here who agree with my opinion, they're going to walk away from this right. But I agree with you, Flavio.
Like, I mean, it's an opinion at the end of the day. They could have their own.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, to be fair, I maybe I need to like dial it down. I'm being a dickhead when I just went on that rant, but it's late and I'm tired.
You have your rights to do that. The thing with watching yesterday's game compared to today, and the other thing about Berube's system, because I've been on the train that the system needed to be adapted and fixed, and now they're not just dumping the puck in aimlessly, which, thank God. It's a very taxing system, especially against a team like Colorado, which is so fast-paced, so rush-oriented. And Utah, really, they played a really good game. Their sticks were very active. They blocked a ton of passes. They are a good team. And if people actually watch hockey besides the Leafs, they'd know that.
Yes. That's why I'm getting annoyed with some of the chat too. It's well, you lost to Utah.
I had a friend tell me you should be beating Utah. I'm like, you don't understand who Utah is.
Yeah, they're a good team.
The other thing, and this was something that happened last time we faced Utah, was Tavares getting a breakaway and it going right into the glove of Vejmelka, because he does that same shot every time, but it's always a goalie's blocker.
Yes.
But
yes,
Vejmelka, it's his glove. It's an easy save. And if Tavares scores that, no one really knows how the game changes. Maybe it ends 6-2 same way, or maybe the Leafs start to get their legs back. That's momentum in hockey.
Yeah. I mean, it's also a good point, too, because you bring that one up, and we're talking about the 6-1, and I think 6-1 is a number people are going to look at, whether they just tuned in at the end of the game, whether they missed stuff, if they wake up tomorrow morning, whatever. And even people in the chat who watched the game and are coming here after and are looking at it being 6-1, that's a bad outcome. Well, to your point, Flavio, there's the JT breakaway that he could have had there, and Vejmelka basically doesn't even
on the
have to
power
move.
Play where he barely just didn't get enough on it. You had Matthews in the third. Even if he gets that, it's a 2-goal game.
If he gets that one, it's 4-2. It doesn't look the same. It doesn't feel the same.
Well, especially the way momentum works. There's about 8 minutes left in that game. Yeah. And the biggest thing you could never give a team is belief. Because once they get that, belief in one team means doubt in another.
Yeah. And look, I mean, and I think you're on the same page as me with this one. So a couple different things. The one thing you pointed out, which I'll just touch on briefly, is the game they played against Colorado last night. And a lot of people are pushing back on me being everybody plays back-to-backs. If this was a second night of back-to-back off an Eastern game,
I had someone
be
today
mad,
talk about...
It's context.
Sorry,
all I was going to say is it's the context, right? It's
absolutely.
Context.
I had someone today talk about, Tampa just had a back-to-back and they won both games. Yeah, but their back-to-back was from Philly to Pittsburgh. It's a very, very big difference.
They could have driven there.
Literally. The other thing, though, with going from Colorado to Utah is facing Colorado is a very different beast because they're so fast-paced. I talked about it before, but when you're playing a team with Natchez, McKinnon, Makar, even Jack Drury has speed from what I saw yesterday. It's so much more difficult and taxing, especially with the system Berube plays, which is win puck battles, dig in, win battles, be physical, do all these things, it taxes on your body. And I think the person it taxed the most of, in my opinion, was McCabe.
Mm-hmm.
And that was visible.
Yeah.
Carlo, I would say, I don't think he had a terrible game, but I don't think he had a good game.
Yeah, the one that's going to stand out is him falling on that. I think it was a 4-on-3 rush chance coming the other way, and he blows a wheel. But it's like, I mean, again, I throw some fatigue into that. I throw some...
Oh, absolutely.
Just,
but
I don't even know if you want to call it bad luck.
It just happens. It just happens. People blow tires. Hell, McCarr did it in the fastest skater competition. You don't mean to do it. It just happens. You catch an edge the wrong way and you fall.
Yeah.
That's what happened to McCabe yesterday.
Yeah. And like, look, the other thing that I think you brought up there, and like, it's my point about this game. This is where I'm like not understanding is the people coming here, and it's a lot of people who watch the show every time are well aware that I'm more than willing to give it to this team.
Oh, I've watched. I know.
And harp on them, right?
I know. Damn well.
I'm with you on this. Is like that didn't feel the same as other games
if
they
not.
got blown
what
out.
It felt like, I'll be honest, it felt like the Pittsburgh versus Leaf game where Domi scored late, but it was the other way around. The only difference is we just didn't score. And we had our chances to score, but it was so sloppy and there was so much fatigue. They couldn't string together passes. They couldn't get in the zone. And the guy who I think looked the most tired was John Tavares. I think
he's dealing with fatigue right now in general. And then you throw this in there, it's going to... Like, he looked good last night. Imagine how much that took out of him.
Absolutely. And
this is a guy I've been talking about over the last little while where he just looks tired. It looks like it's getting to him. The schedule of this season is wearing down on him. And then you play that one. Yeah, it's going to hit him even harder than it is some of these other guys right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm with you, dude. I just can't find a way to be mad about this game. I do, again, think
if they go into Vegas
but
and they have a very bad game, if they do what they did last time in Vegas, where they got shelled, you could be upset. You can be livid because at that point you could start to see a pattern, and that's the worst thing you could see with any team. Because we saw the pattern, we saw it for 2.5 months, and it was not a good pattern.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you.
They've made adjustments to the system, which I'm so thankful for. Because I just watched the game, I analyzed the game personally.
Yeah,
that's how I watch hockey, and I love the sport so damn much. Watching them against Florida, to watching them against Vancouver, to even watching them against Colorado, the system adapts to what they see in game. And it's very strategic, and I love it. And I give a lot of credit to Craig Berube for realizing it and changing it.
Yes. Yes. And you know what I was going to say, too, is like, this wasn't to me a systematic issue in the way that they played or their brand of hockey was bad. They just couldn't execute. They couldn't execute.
That's the biggest thing. When you're fatigued, it is very difficult.
Yeah.
And people talking about, workers work construction and this is like, you got to realize when you do that, you get your body used to it.
Yeah.
Working a 12-hour shift once in a blue moon, you'll be dead after it. But also, if you haven't worked, or you work a long shift one day and you work another long shift the next day, imagine going to the gym right before it. That's what hockey feels like. Going back to back. Yeah. It's not fun.
Okay, let me ask you one thing. Sorry, go ahead.
The other thing is, you're not just skating. You're getting hit. You're getting cross-checked. You're getting slashed. You're getting hooked.
Yes.
It's not fun.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. 100%. I want to ask you one thing here, and then we'll wrap on this one, or unless you got a final point after this, Flavio. But
I was going to ask a question after.
Okay. So let me ask you this. You ask the question, and then we'll wrap.
Yeah, absolutely.
So So my question to you is about your thoughts on Morgan Rielly, because we've talked about the team as a whole here tonight, but everybody in the chat wants to keep reminding me Morgan Rielly goes -4. I'm not willing to, or I'm not interested, I should say, not necessarily not willing. I'm not interested in going scorched earth on Morgan Rielly because, you know, the last time I did that, it was a -4 game against the Islanders that I think the Leafs did enough in that one to deserve a win and deserve a win in reg, and Morgan Rielly blew it. This to me is not that night. He's just a guy who's going to get those stats and walk away with a poor stat line in this.
That's fair. The thing is, with the Islanders game, when you could point out easy mistakes, like double teaming with Nyes to try and get the puck and leaving Schaefer wide open in the slot, okay, you could dog on him for that. That's awful. Tonight, I wouldn't really crap on him so much because I didn't think any of the defense looked good. I thought OEL looked good, but he's the ageless wonder at this point.
Yeah.
With Rielly, you got to take the pros and the cons. And that's the difficult part. And it's honestly going to go into my last question, which is kind of funny. He's a good puck-moving, point-scoring D-man. At the end of the day, he puts up points. He's done it in the playoffs. He's done it before. You got to take the good with the bad. And yeah, sometimes he will look genuinely awful, and you will be wondering how this man got $7.5 million. But even if you look at the last few games, he had some very good defensive plays. Even yesterday against Colorado, he had a poke check that was really important, if I'm correct. And then against Philly in overtime, same thing. You got to take the good with the bad, because at the end of the day, he's a Leaf. And I'll support this team no matter what, and I'll accept it, sadly, but that's the truth. I don't think he was necessarily bad, but I don't think anyone was necessarily good because they looked a step behind the entire time.
Yeah, the Morgan Rielly thing is interesting because I think at the contract that he's coming in at, he doesn't match it anymore, which is a big problem, especially for people in Leafs Nation who want to compare them to what they're getting paid and that kind of stuff. And I think that's fair. Like, when you get paid the amount that they get paid, you're going to be required to meet that level of production. You're considering what your AAV is and your contract is and stuff. Morgan Rielly, to me, just isn't the reason this team lost tonight. He was bad in this game, but I think part of that comes with the team around him playing poorly and not being there to help. I also think, yes, he had some dumb moments. You know, I look at the one that Gunther scores where Carlo blows a tire. It's Morgan Rielly who gets stripped in the offensive zone of that puck. It's Gunther
because he
back
goes
the
too
other
high.
way. And then, you know, he runs into Brandon Carlo, and like, it's just...
I saw that play developing, and I didn't like it for one reason. Rielly went up, and Willie had to drop back.
Yeah, it's a concerning factor if that's taking place. Yeah. All right, Flavio, what's the question you got for me before you leave?
I think everyone's heard of Dougie Hamilton and the rumors going around. What is your opinion on him if he were to come to the Leafs? Because I fully believe adding a puck mover who could score, and his underlying numbers are not bad this year. His point total is, but
yeah,
if you can get some retention, I fully believe getting someone like that would help. And I'm curious about your opinion on that, because we don't really have any scorer or anyone on our D-core who's right-handed who can get you a big goal. And I think to watching games and watching, you know, Philip Myers take a clapper, or Benoit forced to take a clapper and hitting the boards, and I think of the way this system works, having a guy that can have that one-shot ability from the point would be massive.
So my thought on Dougie is it's entirely price dependent.
Oh, absolutely.
It is also dependent, so it's dependent on what the cost is to acquire the player. If it's an all-time buy low spot and you can get him for extremely cheap, okay, sure. If you're going to go out and have to trade and move heaven on earth to get this guy here, no, I'd rather stay away from it.
That either.
But I mean, the thing I would say with Hamilton is, if you're going out and getting him, you're getting him because you think Chris Tanev is not playing again this season, and you probably also think Dakota Joshua isn't playing again this season, because you're going to have to use some significant cap space to get the guy. The other problem here is, do you want the Devils to eat some of his cap? Because if you do, then you're going to have to get more into that trade package to get them to eat it. I do think Dougie Hamilton would help this team offensively from the back end. I think he would help this team on the power play specifically, because they don't really have a guy right now that they can rely on. Morgan Rielly is not it. I know that I'm not harping on Morgan Rielly tonight, but I'm not really going to defend him in this one either. He can't run the power play. He's supposed to be your offensive defenseman, and he's just not very good at that. I know Dougie Hamilton is struggling offensively right now, but I think that Dougie Hamilton could figure it out with this Leafs team. Just getting a different change of scenery, a new location, new teammates, new system, new structure. Maybe he could fit in and get them in there, get into this team and make an impact. It's just like Donnie Does Dishes says it would cost them Nyes. No, it wouldn't. It would not cost them Matthew Nyes. I saw somebody say it would cost Ben Danford. I also do not think it would cost you Ben Danford. Maybe I'm wrong, but I really don't think so.
I could give you my perspective on it. I fully believe it needs to be, it'd be a buy low scenario. Yes. But the big thing that I'm kind of struggling with is what teams truly would have him fit the way he'd probably want to be fit. Because I've heard Utah, I've heard San Jose, and I don't really see it. With Utah, they have Marino and they have Dursey. Hamilton would be good, but you'd have to move out cap, or New Jersey would have to retain. In Toronto, he'd slot in pretty easily, but at the same time, there'd have to be retention and probably money going out. And any other team, I don't really see them being able to just take on a $9 million cap hit with, to be honest, only 10 teams he could truly be traded to unless he's willing to waive.
Yeah. Mike from Buffalo says Florida team as well. That's one that would be scary if he does go there. I could see that working really well.
But it'd be really awkward with Jones, Ekblad, and Hamilton. It'd be fantastic for them. I won't doubt that into hell, but
they just find ways to figure it out in Florida. They just find ways to get guys to fit into the system.
But the real thing is, what would they be giving up that teams can't?
Yeah, I don't know, but he also has control of where he could go, right? So he could kind of dictate the spot, which I think helps. And that's the other point here as well. Let me just be very clear when I say this, and I'm pushing back on people saying it's so expensive to get Hamilton. I'm not suggesting you get Dougie Hamilton for free if that is a trade that is available to Brad Treliving. You're not getting this guy for free. The Devils are not giving him away. But let's just be clear about again, going back to the word of the night, context here in this one. The context of the situation, you have to understand. Everybody in the NHL knows that they've tried to move this guy. The relationship is tarnished there between Dougie Hamilton, his agent, and the New Jersey Devils.
Yep.
And he's probably going to want out and want to go to find a spot with a team that wants him. The L Blazer brings up Detroit. Could be a team that could fit him in there as well. They're looking for an offensive defenseman, specifically a right-handed guy. I think they wanted Quinn Hughes, but they didn't want to make that trade unless he was going to sign an extension. I think they're heavily interested in Rasmus Andersson. I wouldn't be surprised if they would be interested in a Dougie Hamilton here as well. But you have to remember, Dougie Hamilton can decide here that he's going to go to a certain team. He's going to help dictate some of that, which limits options for the Devils. It cheapens what the deal would be anyways.
It takes away their leverage. And that is the
Yes.
biggest thing. And the other thing I want to throw in there, because a lot of people aren't talking about it, is when Hamilton played yesterday, I believe they had to scratch Nemec. That is
Was it Nemec who went out? I didn't see it, honestly.
I think it is Nemec. I think it was Nemec because Kovacevic is almost back.
Okay.
And
he played the other day when they scratched Hamilton,
okay.
right? That was what they did. They played Kovacevic and they scratched Hamilton. So I don't know what it was last night. I'm not going
I believe they scratched Nemec, which is one of the reasons I think New Jersey wants to get this done as soon as possible. Because we've seen before when you're forced to play someone over and you're scratching a promising defenseman, what can happen. And what can happen is David Jiricek asking for a trade. And the thing with the Devils is you have Nemec and you have Casey and you have Pesci and you have all these guys that are good defensemen. And it's really becoming almost a juggling act that I see in New Jersey, trying to push Hamilton's value, but also not, for lack of a better term, stunt your young players.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they also want it to be competitive. And
absolutely.
Now if you're in a position where maybe you're not, maybe it's time for you to move on from a guy like that. But I don't know. Like, look, it's very dependent on what the trade ask is for Hamilton. It's dependent on what the salary is. It also just
depends on his list. We've seen what Mason Marchment did.
And the other thing, too, by the way, to people in the chat that I just want to point out as well was somebody pushed back. I brought up the context or the situation with Tanev, and if Tanev is out for the season, maybe you go to do that. He's not your Tanev replacement. Dougie Hamilton is
not your Tanev replacement at all.
It's the fact that you have that money available and you need a right shot guy. So that's where I'm at. All right, Flavio. Thank you for the call here tonight.
No problem.
Appreciate it.
Probably be back eventually.
Sounds good. You're welcome back anytime. I appreciate the call here tonight. You enjoy the rest of your night.
Yeah, you too.
All right, there you go. Flavio on the line. Appreciate that call. I said we're going to go shorter show here tonight. Again, thanks to the callers here on this one, Flavio, Jamie Richardson for calling in. Thanks to all of you guys in the chat who have participated here so far in this one as well. With that, we're going to get to our final segments. Let's get to Crave the Stats. Crave the Stats is a presentation of Uber Eats. Uber Eats is enabling fans to maximize their fandom all season long with exclusive game day deals on the app, from game day eats to paper plates and napkins if you're hosting, to all the ingredients you need to make your favorite game day dip. Every time the Leafs are playing at home, you can get these exclusive deals in Toronto only on Uber Eats. Firehouse Subs, the BOGO Brisket Hat Trick, Kibo Sushi, the BOGO California Roll, Shelby Shawarma, the BOGO Traditional Wrap. BOGO is buy one, get one. Before, during, and after the game, Uber Eats is assisting every fan's hockey experience all season long. Box score rundown. Let's just take a look at what happened in this one tonight. So, Cowan -1, Nyes -2, Matthias Michelli -2, Matthews -1, McMahon -1, Nylander -4, holy fuck, John Tavares -3, Nick Waugh -1. Everybody else, Domi, Yarncroke, Lawton, Lorentz, even on the night. Zeros for them. Defensively, Ekman Larson finishes this one +1. Benoit -1, Carlo -2, McCabe -1, Rielly -4, Stetcher -3. Like, everyone wants to harp on Morgan Rielly, and again, it's not a good night from him, but there's Troy Stetcher, the guy we're putting on a pedestal, and I'm not going to shit on Troy Stetcher in this game, but he's -3. So, like, it's not a good game from the Maple Leafs. It's not a good game from anybody involved for this team. And, you know, we're talking about this being we're talking about this game being an embarrassment. Like, it is, but again, and I know people are tired of hearing me say the word fatigue. I get it, but like, I just strongly disagree with people where they say, oh, you're professional athletes, you have to show up. And this is unacceptable for them tonight. There's just numerous aspects for me in this game there's numerous aspects in this game for me against Utah that I just take and I just throw out. You're coming off the second night of a back-to-back, the most emotionally and physically draining game of the season. And I'm not trying to play the moral victory game here or the participation trophy game here on this one, but it's a tough night to get up for. You're dealing with altitude, you're dealing with time change, you're dealing with physical exhaustion from just the game that you played, the nature of the game that you played the night before. I know everybody in the NHL deals with back-to-backs. I know everybody in the NHL deals with travel. Like, that's not the excuse in general here, but you can look at everybody in this one, the way that they played. It's not good enough. It's a bad game, but this thing probably isn't even 6-1 if Dennis Hildeby is just a little bit better. There's goals in this one that you could look at on Dennis Hildeby's side of things, and it's not him that's the reason they lost, but maybe it just doesn't end up being 6-1. Maybe it's 4-1. And is that more palatable to people if they walked away 4-1 rather than 6-1? Probably. Are people less pissed off if it's 4-1 or 3-1 rather than 6-1? Likely. You're probably not getting the same vitriol from the fan base coming out of this game as you are with a 4-1 loss to Utah and being like, well, yeah, it's the second night of a back-to-back. You're expecting a letdown game in this situation. Hildeby could have been better. The defense could have been better. The power play could have potted a goal or two. Matthews doesn't hit the crossbar. He scores one there, and maybe it becomes 4-2 in the third period. Like, there were so many moments that could have just made this look a little bit differently optically on the scoreboard at the end of the night. I just chalk this game up to fatigue. I chalk it up to a mental and a physical toll being taken on this team from the game the night before. I was expecting a loss here tonight. 6-1 doesn't look great. I get that. But again, I don't think that this is a 6-1 game where it's like, wow, they just got their wheels blown off and this was pathetic through and through. It's a bullshit game. You take it, you throw it out. Everybody could have been better. Everybody could have helped impact this score in a more positive light if everybody showed up and was just marginally better. That's why I look at this one and say, hey, fatigue got the better of them. Fatigue impacted them here tonight, and fatigue led to a 6-1 loss rather than what it could have been with 4-2, 3-1, 4-1. I don't fucking know what you want to put it as, but again, I just don't think that this one is as bad in terms of a takeaway myself. I'm not going to say scoreboard-wise because it is 6-1 loss, but just a takeaway for me personally from this game being like, wow, they got their shit rocked. No, okay, it is what it is. Let's take it, throw it out, move on, and see how they respond on Thursday against Vegas. All right, with that, let's get to our play of the game from tonight. Play of the game. I don't know. Send your play of the game in the chat. Play of the game. I don't know. You guys send your plays of the game. I want to know what you think and feel about this one here tonight. In the grades coming up in a moment, but for the time being, send your play of the game. I think for me, play of the game is the final buzzer to get the hell out of here. End this game. Shut it down. Go home. Move on. Lawton knocking over Peterka. Sure. Auston Matthews hairline. Rielly tripping Carlo. Fast-paced sports. Lawton knocking O'Brien on his ass. Yeah, I mean, look, there's not too many positives out of this one. We'll leave it at that. Grade of the game. Let's do grades and get out of here. Grade of the game for me, it's a D plus. I feel like C, saying a C just sounds and feels better than it should have been. I'll go with a D+. I don't think they cheated you on effort tonight. I think the execution was just poor. I think that they had a toll taken on them mentally and physically, and they couldn't show up in the same way tonight, but like they still tried to play the system. They still tried to get after these guys. They still tried a physical brand. It was just taxing. I'm going with a D+ in this one. And then, like, again, to the point, Dennis Hildeby could have been better. Dennis Hildeby could have changed the outlook in this one. He didn't make some saves that he probably should have, and this thing just gets out of hand. That's it for me here tonight on the postgame show. It's a short one. I'm sorry, but I think that's all I have to give here on this one. I think that's all I have left to say about this game. You take this one, you throw it out, you pretend it never happened, and you move forward. Thank you to everybody who tuned in tonight. Thanks to everybody who liked, subscribed, commented, turned on notifications. I will be live on Thursday following the game against the Vegas Golden Knights. We will be joined by Nick Alberga in that one. I think we might also have Mike in Buffalo stop by potentially on Thursday night, so that will be cool. We'll get a cast of characters lined up for the post-game show for Thursday night to break down the Leafs in Vegas for the Nick Waugh revenge game, right? That's all that we're looking at. The Nick Waugh revenge game. I don't know what else we could be teeing up on Thursday, but we'll have game previews, post-game shows, all of that stuff coming up on Thursday night following the game against the Vegas Golden Knights. Thanks to everybody here tonight. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you back here on Thursday following that one. Until then, try your best to keep believing. For more content just like this, including game previews, post-game live shows, Leafs Morning Take, Monday through Friday with Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill with special guests, as well as instant reaction videos, make sure to be subscribed here to the Leafs Nation YouTube channel. Turn on